Hi everyone, it's Miss Terry, and today I'm going to talk about some new selections in the outdoor literature genre. I have some fiction as well as a few nonfiction titles to share with you. This first one today is called Be Not Far From Me, about a girl named Ashley who lives in the Smoky Mountains. Always felt very at home in the woods, on the trails, in the mountains, except for one night when she is with some friends kind of on a drunken camp out, and she discovers her boyfriend with another girl, and the emotions kind of get the better of her, and she ends up dashing off into the woods completely barefoot with only the clothes on her back. And she wakes up in the morning hopelessly lost, far off the trail, and with an injury on her foot. And then the rest of the book is the tale of her trying to survive and to get back home, fighting horrible weather, hunger, no water, and almost a lethal infection on her foot. So that's called Be Not Far From Me. This next one is called Wildfire, and this is a story about Annie and Peter, and they've kind of been in the Dead Moms Club for a while, since the age of 12, when they both lost their moms. And this is the story of the two of them. They are just about to go off to fire camp, which is a camp for those living in northern Washington to teach residents how to fight the wildfires that sometimes happen there. So the two of them decide to go, and right before they leave, Annie ends up losing her grandmother to lung cancer, and this grief really hits her kind of hard. She's very glad that she's going to be with Peter, and he thinks that the hike through the Pacific Northwest Trail in order to get to fire camp will be very cathartic for her, and that'll help her work through her grief over her grandmother. What Peter doesn't know is that Annie is hopelessly in love with him, and this journey is only going to solidify those feelings that she has for him. So that is called Wildfire. This next one, When I Am Through With You, is told by 17-year-old Ben, who is a high school senior, and actually the whole story is told from him sitting in jail as he's been accused of the murder of his girlfriend, Rose. Now, Ben has had kind of a tough life. His father left him and his mother. His mom was in a horrible car accident, and he's kind of decided not to go to college so that he can stay with her and help to take care of her. They also escaped an extremely abusive stepfather, and he actually died at Ben's hands with him trying to protect his mother. So he's kind of had a lot of trauma in his life. So when he and his girlfriend Rose, who has always kind of been able to kind of center him, decide to go on a school camp out trip. There's 6 students and 1 teacher, and as they go up the mountain, things go bad decisions end up getting them lost, and now they're trying to survive, and not everyone is going to make it down the mountain, including Ben's girlfriend Rose. So that is When I Am Through With You. A little bit of a mystery on top of the survival of being out in the wilderness. This next one is called Valley Girls, and this is about Rhea, who is 17 years old, and she lives in kind of the wrong side of the tracks in West Virginia. Neighborhood's kind of rough, and her half-sister Thea had escaped years before. She's now a park ranger in Yosemite, and after one bad mistake, Rhea's mom says, enough, you're gonna go live with Thea, and sends her to Yosemite. Well, Rhea is not thrilled about this. She didn't really want to go. She's not loving being out in this big wilderness, but she ends up meeting a group of girls who like to mountain climb, and they kind of take Rhea under their wings and teach her how to climb. And she decides that she's going to try to climb El Capitan, which is a 3,000-foot climb. And that it is through the training and preparation for that she will have her first climb, her first fall, and her first love. And that's called Valley Girls. I Am Still Alive is a survival tale of a girl named Jess. And on the back of this book it says, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead, but for a while I survived. And this is the story of Jess, whose mom has died in a car accident, and Jess was badly injured, so she's still kind of recovering from that injury when she's sent to live with her dad, who kind of lives off in the Canadian wilderness. She hasn't seen him in over 10 years, but there she is, when a secret from her dad's past comes and ends up killing him and burning down the cabin. And now Jess, along with his dog, are being forced to try to survive. And she wants to survive. She definitely has that I'm going to make it, because she knows who killed her father, and she wants revenge. So it's called I Am Still Alive. And then the last fiction one that I'm going to talk about today is called The Distance Between Lost and Found. And this is kind of a mix-up of the books Speak and Hatchet together. So this is about a young girl named Hallelujah. She's a sophomore in high school. And there was an incident one night with the preacher's son. His name is Luke. And she ends up going silent. She doesn't tell her parents what happened. She doesn't tell her friends what happened. She doesn't tell anybody. And she kind of really becomes isolated from everybody because she just can't seem to speak about what has happened to her. And unfortunately, Luke is awful. And he continually bullies her and makes her life misery. Well, she ends up going, about 6 months later, she ends up going on a camping trip with her youth group. And she meets a new girl named Rachel, who doesn't know anything about her past, but that still doesn't help her really open up. And then she and Rachel and her ex-friend Jonah end up getting lost in the woods, and they are trying to figure out a way back. Now, this isn't just like, oh, I got lost in the woods tonight. This ends up being days and days of struggling to find where they belong and getting out of the woods. And in that time, Hallelujah has to decide if she's going to start to open up, and maybe telling the truth about what happened to her might help save them all. So that's the distance between lost and found. All right, a couple nonfiction stories. This first one is a new one by Gary Paulson, and this is called Gone to the Woods. And this is, Gary Paulson, of course, is the author of Hatchet and Brian's Winter, a lot of outdoor survival type stories. And this is a story of how he survived, not necessarily being outdoors, but how the outdoors helped him survive a very awful childhood. He used to live in the Chicago, and every summer he would be able to escape to the North Woods. And that's how Hatchet, the story for Hatchet, even started. And he also tells of the librarian who gave him his first book when he was 13 years old, and for his young enlistment in the military that really showed him that he could be a storyteller. So if you enjoy Gary Paulson's novels, you probably will enjoy his biography of his difficult childhood and how going out into the nature really made him the storyteller that he is today. This next one is called A Storm Too Soon, and it takes place on May 2nd, 2007, when 3 veteran sailors, so these are sailors that had been sailing for a long time, decided to make an epic journey from Florida to France on their 47-foot sailboat. And as they set out, a storm hit and they lost their boat somewhere in the Gulf Stream. And now the 3 of them are trying to survive on a life raft in the middle of the ocean with 80-foot waves. So this is the story of their survivor, as well as the 4 Coast Guardsmen who go to rescue them. So that's A Storm Too Soon. Kind of on the short side, kind of a quick read, definitely action-packed. And then the last one I'm going to talk about today is called Alone on the Wall by Alex Honnold, who is a world-renowned soloist, free soloist climber. And that means, no ropes, no equipment, no nothing. Basically, if you fall, you die. And in this book, he recounts his 7 greatest climbing achievements. And he takes you through the action-packed, nail-biting adventures that he has been on in his life. So that's called Alone on the Wall. Hope you enjoy.